Hey everyone, this is Ashish from Nected. Welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to talk about entity mapping, our new feature in Nected. So let's first understand what is entity mapping is. Then we'll see how you can access it and use it. So as you know, if you are creating any rule or a workflow, there are three things that you are using. So while creating rule, let's talk about it first. So if you are creating a rule, then you might fetch the input attributes from your datasets or from any API, and you can use that rule in any other rule set maybe, or in a workflow. So inside a workflow again, you can use multiple rules, multiple datasets, multiple APIs. So what we thought that what if you can track that if you have a entity, then which entity it is using and by which entity it is used, so that you can track that which are like the versions as well, that which version of this entity, like let's say you have built a rule, you have a dataset, but you have two different versions of the dataset, and now your rule is using the previous version of the dataset. So how about you can track that? How about you can see that which version of it is using by the rule? And let's just not talk about the version, also in general as well, you can check that which entity is used by and using which entity, right? Let me show you how this works. So here I have a rule set, let's say. So starting with rule set, so here I have used these 5 rules, right? So if I click on this button in the right hand side sidebar, here you can see the dependency map. Here it is showing that what entities it is using. So these are the 5 rules that is using, like this rule set is using, but I have not called this rule set anywhere. So the used by column is completely blank. Now let's first start with from the integration as well. So I have, let's say, any dataset or like any third-party connectors like this G sheet. So I have this G sheet in published version, and if I click on this button again, I can see that which rule or which workflow is using this particular connector. Like here you can see that I have a DT new rule. I have a rule called DT new. That rule is using this G sheet. I have another rule that is also using this particular G sheet. Now here if you click on this drop down button, you can see that which version is basically used by the rule. Like the current version is live, but used in version is staging, like the rule version is staging. Now if I click on this button, I can directly go to the rule. I can see that this thing is used by this rule, and here it is. And if I click on this dependency mapping button here, I can see the G sheet here, right? So here I can see that whatever datasets I am using, and I can view those datasets from this view button. I can see that I have used global variables, integration as well. So that's how it works. Now let's see. It will give you a better visualization if we go to workflow. So I have some workflow created. Here is one of them. So here you can see I have used a rule called SR_DS, where I have been using the draft version of this rule, right? If I click on this drop down button, I can see so as I have only one draft version of this rule, so I cannot see any other versions here listed, but if I had, then I can view that as well. We'll talk about it later, but first let's talk about the dependency mapping. Is like here you can see in this tab that whatever workflow, whatever rule I am using inside this workflow. So I have been using another workflow called WF true. So I can see that the version of that workflow is also staging and draft. Now the thing I was talking about, that if I want to change this, like I don't have any other version, but I can do that. I can do that for you. So here I will click on this rule button, and I will open the configuration panel. Here in the I will click on this button and I'll go to the rule editor. From here I will test it. Okay, so we don't have any condition error, but I can test it through like this, and okay, yeah, so I will close it. I can test it, I guess. Okay, let's just give it string right now, and I can test it, I guess. Yeah, so I can test it, and okay, so like this, I don't have that access right now, maybe. Okay, so I have a published rule. Let's go with that. I will add this here at the top, and I will go into the rule, and this dynamic fees will be added here. Now I can click on test, right, and I can click on save. Okay, so here I can see that I have using this draft version. So this is the draft version, that is the current version. So whenever you are using a rule inside a workflow, inside any entity, inside any other entity, so the default version will be the latest draft version, unless you have published version, right? And I can change it to the live production version, that is the live version, current live version, or I can change it to any previous live version. So the workflow will run on that previous version. So now if I just go into this dependency mapping list, I can see the dynamic fees here, and the version is staging and draft. But as soon as I will change this, I'll continue it, and I will test it like this, and yeah, see, this is now updated as production / live. So now it is showing that I am currently using the dynamic fees rule, and the version is live version. So this is how the dependency mapping or the entity mapping works, and where it works in your integration panel, in your data source. Okay, so we have not talked about the data source. Here in data source as well, you will get this button, and you can see that whatever rule or whatever integration this whatever integration this particular data set is using, and whatever rule is using this particular data set, so it is used by these rules, right? So that we can check from here. And also if I want to check the version, I can check the version from here. And if I want to view the rule, I can view the rule from this view button. So this is how you can configure, you can access, or you can change the version. You can map different version of different entities. You can check whatever entities your rule or your workflow is using right now, and you can change that alongside. So you can play with that, and that's all for this video. That's how you can access your entity mapping options in Nected. Thanks for watching.